let's jump into our Genesis series. So we're going through the first 11 books of Genesis. We're calling it Origins because the very beginning of the Bible has some very foundational stories to who we are, who God is, and we've been looking at a question every single week that is not just something that the ancient people were wondering, but also ourselves as well. This week we're going to be doing the very beginning of Genesis chapter 9, which is the end of Noah's Ark. I say the end of Noah's Ark, and you say, wait a second, I thought we finished. If you were here 2 weeks ago, the flood receded, all the people come out of the ark, Noah makes a sacrifice, God accepts the sacrifice and says, I'll never destroy the earth again. And from what I was taught in Sunday school, that's pretty much all that happened. What do we need chapter 9 for? You read through chapter 9, there's no additional narrative, there's no more story, you can't act it out. And so for me, on first glance, this is one of those passages in the Bible that I'm at risk of saying, I don't really need this, right? But everything in the Bible is meant to be there. God is intentionally revealing himself to us in this. So this is a text in particular I probably need to study, to slow down. Well, what is it saying? All it is God talking, which is interesting as well. We've had a lot of stories up until this point, and so we kind of read into these stories. What is this story telling us about who we are? What is this story telling us about who God is? Here in Genesis chapter 9, we don't have to guess. We get to see what God is thinking. We get to see what God is saying. And it's at a very crucial point in the text. If you're reading through Genesis to understand who God is, here's what you've known about God. He's created a good and beautiful world, and he's created humans as the crowning achievement of his creation. He sets them in it, and they're to maintain it. Humans take it a different direction than what God wanted, and so God wipes out almost his entire creation, including all the humans. So on the one hand, you see God is very pro-human, right? And then on the other hand, you see he's very anti-human. And so when we get to Genesis chapter 9, we're saying, well, what does God think about humans, right? We're like, which one is it? Like, which one is stronger than the other one? How can we see? Genesis chapter 9 will reveal what God thinks. If we want to translate this to our lives, I think many of us at some point in our life know that we have disappointed God or know that our actions have not lined up with what God's design was for our life. So the question becomes, I know God loves me. I also know God hates sin. What does he think about me? I'm somewhere in between. So I think when we're reading Genesis chapter 9, I want us to have this question in the back of our mind. When we're at that state in our life, what does God think about me? What does he feel about me, right? That's what we're going to be looking at today. So let's read Genesis chapter 9. Actually, I got the first verses up on the screen. We're just going to go the first 17 verses. Oops, red means off, green means on. It's tough. All right, it's like they try to make it like the stoplight so you can see it, in other places in your life, and it's tough for me. All right, this is verse 1. Then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth. The fear and dread of you will fall on all the beasts of the earth and on all the birds in the sky, on every creature that moves along the ground, and on all the fish in the sea. They are given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you, just as I gave you the green plants. I now give you everything. So here we have, very similar to how chapter 8 ended, chapter 9 begins with a repeat of what God had already commissioned humans with Adam and Eve. Be fruitful and increase, right? Fill the earth. And he had said that Adam and Eve would rule over all of the animals. Here we see even maybe more of an emphasis on that, saying that the fear of humanity will be in all the animals, and the animals are actually given for food in addition to the plants. So it's very similar. We talked about how God was recreating the world, not just destroying the world, but he's really remaking it again, and everything that applied before applies now. But this isn't to say that humans can kind of do whatever they want with the animals or the world around them. He says, but you must not eat meat that has its lifeblood still in it. And for your lifeblood, I will surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting from every animal and from each human being too. I will demand an accounting for the life of another human being. Whoever sheds human blood, by human shall their blood be shed. For in the image of God has God made mankind. As for you, be fruitful and increase in number, multiply on the earth and increase upon it. I want to go back to what he's saying, because there's a definite theme here when it talks about this lifeblood of lifeblood. I do not use the word lifeblood. Does anyone use lifeblood ever? Has everyone? Okay, so this is it's an English trying to translate the Hebrew, the word that is often translated as soul, if it's talking about humans, is in that word lifeblood. It's like the soul's blood of the animal. To God, and to the Old Testament in particular, the blood represents the life. And so, when we talk about the sacrifices later on, the key element of that is that the blood is the life. And so this is the principle that God is saying, that you can't simply eat animals, you can't eat their life, you can eat their flesh, right? So I'm giving to them as food. The food part of them you can eat, but their life is going to be separate, and it needs to be separate. That's holy. This became such a key element of the people that even in the New Testament, after Jesus had said everything is clean and unclean, they still wrote to new believers and said, just make sure you don't eat meat with blood still in it. This was a key characteristic of God's people because it respects God's respect for this life, this lifeblood. But of course, God isn't just talking about animals here. He moves right into human beings, where whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed, for in the image of God has God made mankind. What we see here is that even more important than animals is humans, where you can't kill them at all. And if you take the life of another human, then your life will also be taken from you. What God is setting up here is a principle that is key to who He is. And that's this: life is sacred. Life. God has created it, therefore we have to tend to it. We have to respect it. If we're going to eat meat, we can't just gobble it down and eat it. We have to slow down and recognize that this is a living thing that is nourishing us. God gave it to us for food. This isn't to say we should all be vegetarians, but it's saying let's slow down, let's pause, let's respect that there is life that was given in order that we might have life. When God put Adam and Eve in the garden, this is back in Genesis chapter 2, I said that God had made the world to sustain life. And I said He made it beautiful, He made it orderly, and He made certain things sacred. And the charge to humanity was to keep those things. Keep it beautiful, keep it orderly, and to keep the sacred things sacred. Here's one of the things that is sacred: life. Life itself. Do not have a flippant attitude toward life. It's special to God. When we say sacred is a very church term. Is there any secular sources that call things sacred? Or is that just religion? I can't even think of anything. Sacred, we say holy, set apart. These are church words, but what it means is special, or in this case, valuable. It's not like everything else in the world. It is something that you say has more value, is going to be different, therefore it will be treated differently. Here's an example. I found this box in one of my drawers. It's labeled software, but it has a marker through it. I know what this is. My parents gave me this box when I was a kid, and they said, you have so much stuff, you have to clean your room and throw it all away, except what fits in this box. And to be completely honest, I put things in the box, and then I never really went in it. I think I went through it actually this week in preparation for the sermon. It is very interesting. I have not added anything in like 20 years to this box, and there are some weird things in here that I don't know why I valued it. For example, I like this one. It's my autograph book from when we went to Walt Disney World. It has, it's very cherished, Rafiki, Timon. It's like someone just wrote Timon. And, oh yes, this I must save. No lie, the very last page in this, it says, you guys are going to get a kick out of this. It says the 96 All-Stars. This was the Little League All-Star team that I didn't make. It was like all my friends. I got them to sign my autograph. It's like, you guys are going to be stars. I just know it. Goofy stuff. I got this, a black and white photo signed by Tyrone Hollywood Brown. I met him at a sporting goods store when I won tickets to the Harlem Globetrotters. And he signed it to Bradley, number 20. Anyway, goofy stuff. Now, here's the thing. If I was me now watching myself put these in, I'd been like, don't put that in there. It's like throw that out. You don't need. There's a marker in here. No lie. There's a literal it's like a little small brown marker. I got it for Christmas one year, and that made the cut. But here's the thing. My parents never told me to throw it away. They never looked in the box. I never looked in the box. The box remained holy to me. It remained sacred. This was my memories. These were the things that I said were important. Therefore, my parents would not touch anything. They wanted me to clean everything, but everything in this box would remain, would stay. Everything to this day. I'm 37 years old and I've got little, like I got Timon's autograph when I was at Walt Disney World. But it stays. Even if I don't value it now, it is sacred. This is like what God's saying about human life. It is sacred. You can't touch this. This is mine. Right? So if my parents or if my siblings found this box and they said, well, this is a bunch of junk and threw it out, we would all say, you can't do that. That's his things. Those are his memories. He has set those in the box. You can't touch that. I have all my teeth in there that I lost when I was a kid. It's kind of weird. I don't know why. But I found like literally all of them. Like, whoa, like valuable stuff, But God says human life can't be touched. You cannot mess with human life. It is in God's box of things that are sacred. We have to value it the same way that God values it. This has tons of applications that are very probably obvious to a lot of us that we can run onto. When we say life is sacred, another way of saying that is sanctity of life. Right? Sanctity is like sacredness. That's been the longtime buzzword of the anti-abortion, the pro-life movement that a lot of Christians have been behind pushing because of this very thing. We recognize that to God, life is sacred. Therefore, we have to treat every life as sacred. But that's just one application. I mean, we can debate about what policies or what procedures, what laws work for what cultures and societies, but as Christians, we have to treat life the same way that God understands life. We have to say, well, that's sacred to God. We can't go in there and throw things away, right? That's what needs protecting. It goes way beyond that. You remember the Black Lives Matter movement. That was a movement rooted in the sanctity of life, saying, no, everyone deserves to have a sacred life. Life is sacred. We have to respect it. The counter movements, Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter. Yes, yes, and yes. Christians say yes, yes. Life is important to God. It's in the box. It is sacred to God. If I look at my own life and I say, where am I maybe not applying this consistently? I think it's where I consume a lot of news. I like to see what's happening around the world. And oftentimes, news has to do with human death and tragedy. And for me, I consume it as entertainment or knowledge, and so I learn about these things from an intellectual perspective, but I don't allow it to move me in a way that says, well, you're actually throwing out something that God put in the box. Like, that's sad. There needs to be some emotional component or some recognition that death has happened. For example, you read about gun violence or migrants trying to get across the Mediterranean and they lose their lives, mudslides and earthquakes, all sorts of things where lives are lost, and then I just move on with my day like it's nothing. But we need to understand life is sacred. That is tragic. We talk about funerals. Funerals, I think, are very important because funerals acknowledge that life is sacred. No matter what life has been lost, if they were very young, if they were very old, if they had lived a long life, if they knew God, if they didn't know God, life is sacred. And when life is lost, God has had something from his box removed. Wait, hold on. No, God cares about that. You can't just throw that away. It's important that we treat life with the same amount of gravity. Here's the pastor railing on movies. Sometimes in movies, deaths are funny, right? Or they're vindictive and they feel good. Yeah, I'm glad he died. Well, let's settle down. Let's not desensitize ourselves. Life is actually sacred. I mean, for as much as I thought my parents were crazy for not letting me watch all the movies I wanted to, there's something to be said for it. Movies are not repeating the same standards that God has. We have to understand that God actually treats life very specially. It's not flippantly. Oh yeah, this guy got killed. Ha ha. Wasn't it funny how it happened? No. Like let's not be entertained by that. I don't know. There's a lot of soapboxes I can stand on if we stay in that category. But what about the flip side, right? So these are all negative, right? Prevent the loss of life. Or, if you kill someone, you're killed too. It's like, well, okay. What about all the lives that are around us? Like, look around the church. These are all things in God's box that are sacred. Holy things that he cares deeply about. How do we treat each other? Oh, if I was honest about myself, I probably don't consistently apply this to my life. Because that would mean that I can't insult, curse at, disparage someone, because God cares about them. That'd be like, spitting on it, ripping that Hollywood Brown signed, autograph signed, black and white copy. You can't do that to what God has said is valuable. If we truly understood the sanctity of everyone's life that we interact with, how could we not treat them with compassion and with love and with care and with patience and with kindness and respect? All the things that we know are good, it's good because God has said they're special to me. And here's the other thing. For in the image of God has God made mankind. God qualifies it. It's not just all human life is good. It's all human life is good because they are mine. Because I put them in my box. I have declared them to be mine. Not based on what other people say or valuation. I think we're quick to judge. And we say, oh, well, we're allowed to judge inside the church. Yeah. But if you're judging to put them down and make yourself feel better than them, you're not respecting their life. Their life is the same as your life. There is no better or worse, at least in God's eyes. So any time we're responding out of anger or impatience or us just feeling like, oh, I can't believe this person. Like, oh, what are they doing? And it's like, take a breath. Image of God is in them. Sacred life is in them. Let's respect that. Christians should interact with people totally different than the world. The world, we might say it, but if we truly believe it, this will transform how we engage with everyone. It'll be different. Should be different. But this is this is kind of the generic, general. Yeah, God, he likes life. He likes humanity. Cool. All right. So we're more on the thumbs up side rather than the thumbs down side. What about me, though? Right? What does he think of me? How do we make this more personal? This part I want to read a little bit more of an extended version, verse 8 all the way down to 17 of Genesis chapter 9. And this is the part of the story that we didn't get to yet with the rainbow. All right, I think we got it up on the screen as well. Then God said to Noah and his sons with him, I now establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the wild animals, all those that came out of the ark with you, every living creature on earth. I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be destroyed by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth. So God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and all life on earth. I kind of like that part. Like at first, I read it, and it's a long section. I'm kind of like, okay, I get it. What was he saying? He just keeps repeating himself over and over. The rainbow, sign, me, you, will not destroy. Whenever I see it, I will remember that I will not destroy. It's me, you, and everyone there. The rainbow, when it appears after the clouds, it's like, yeah. It's like, this is firm. You can count on this. One of the commentaries I was looking at said that, the Hebrew doesn't say rainbow, it just says bow. Like when I put the bow in the sky, he's talking about a rainbow. It's not, we aren't unsure about what he's meaning. But the word is like a bow and arrow, like a hunting tool or a weapon, and what's cool is if you viewed a rainbow as a weapon, it is not drawn and pulled back, it is at rest. And it's not pointed at the earth, it's pointed up. God is not waiting for us to mess up and ready to shoot us. He is at ease. He's at peace. The rainbow is a sign that says, I'm not at war. I'm not mad. I'm not looking to get you. I'm not looking to pay you guys back. And that's something that we can see in the sky when we see it. I also love that, here's something. When God makes covenants with his people, he gives a sign. Every single one, if you look in the Bible, when he makes a covenant with his people, we talked about this, more than just a promise, more than just a commitment. This is God's choice to let his life and our life be combined, where we get to be a part of what he's doing, and he's going to be a part of what we're doing. We're going to do it together. Every time he makes a covenant, he gives us a sign that we can remember God's promise. And so this sign comes after a storm. You have to have rain in order to have a rainbow. So it always comes at a time when it's dark, when you're like, hold on, God, right? Like maybe nope, he remembers. Nope, it's still there. Like God recognizes, and I mean, you could probably extend this even more. There will be times in our life where there will be storms, but there will be rainbows, right? God remembers us through the difficult times that we have. He's not saying, never again will I bring rain, right? There will be rain. I just won't let that destroy you. I will save you through it. Our covenant remains through all that. That's what the rainbow means for us. All right, now here's the thing. No, I'll give you the key point first, and then we'll go into the key thing. How does God feel about us? God treasures you even as you are. So at the end of chapter 8, God says, I know that the human heart is inclined toward evil. From the time they were born, it's like the only evil all the time. And yet still, a covenant with you, and I'm giving you a rainbow. I'm choosing you even though it's not valuable. I'll keep you, even though there's nothing about it inherent in itself that says I deserve to be kept. If you look at all the world, you should keep me. Like I'll show you this marker. I have the lid to a container. I don't even have the container anymore. I don't have a comb in here. Like I don't get it. And yet, a whistle, a soccer whistle, these things were important to me at one point in my time. But the thing is, it's not what they are that makes them important. It's because I said they're important. God says you are important, even as you are. You don't have to make it through the storm. You don't have to be victorious and strong. No, I treasure you. That's what God says. The question. Now, let's illustrate. Hey, look. One other thing, man, I don't know who needs to hear this. We all need to hear this at some point, but let's know what this is. All right, so here's a stuffed animal. I put it in the box. This lives actually in our kids' stuffed animal drawer. But I do not know when I got this. I got this when I was a kid. It's got a little ribbon. That's original from when my parents or whoever gave me this, gave it to me. It's this goofy little gorilla. Nothing really about it that says you should keep me for 30 years. And yet here we are. I can go on Etsy and I can look at stuffed animals and I can say that one is nice. I can look at handcrafted. I say that's valuable. I could say I'd be willing to pay more for that than I would for this other one. And there's a sense of saying there's value in that. There's a different kind of value when it says I valued this so much that I kept it like forever. Like this is mine. I know I don't sleep with it, but there's a difference in saying, yes, I can see that this is more valuable than this one, and I choose you to be with me indefinitely. That's God's covenant to us. It is a personal covenant. See, he's not just saying, I value human life in general, and like I like humans, like they're more good than bad, or they're actually more bad than good, but I'm going to choose to view them, with his optimism. He's saying, no, I want them as my treasure. Right? I think sometimes for me, yes, God loves me, Jesus loves me, this I know, yes, check. No. God treasures you. Not just loves you, not just wants you, not just chooses you. God treasures you. He will keep you, even though there's nothing about you that's making him say that. Even though other people say you're not valuable. Other people say, well, I would throw you away in a second. God says, no, but you're mine. I choose you forever. Right? Not dependent, right? Not, well, as soon as you go out of style, then you go, no. You are mine. As you, even as you. That's what he's saying. To me, the sticking point that goes off in my head is says, okay, I mean, you're going a little too far, Pastor Brad. Right? The rainbow in the sky, clearly it's a covenant for the entire world, and it's not for me. Like I can't look at a rainbow in the sky and then say, he loves me, he treasures me, and to feel that. That you're going too far, right? God doesn't even see me. He sees the entire world. I want to give you two reasons why you can. Why God's rainbow is a personal, I treasure you message. First of all, here, we're going to get more logical, right? We're in our feelings, now we're going to get back in our head. We've had no problem the entire time that we've studied Genesis applying these to our personal lives, right? When we talk about the fall, Adam and Eve take a bite of the apple, and we say, we are also like Eve, tempted by these very things that she is tempted by, and we have to choose to follow God rather than ourselves. We see Cain and Abel and we say, we also struggle with those same feelings of jealousy, and how can we get rid of the anger and not let it master us? We've been going through Adam and Eve planted in the garden. Here's your commission. Here's what you do. Therefore, this is what we do. We've had no problems applying what's happened to these people in the past or things that are in general to our personal lives. Because we believe, how we're reading this is called a hermeneutic principle, that the Bible is meant for us, even if it's not written to us. Even if it has other meanings, it is meant for us today, and that God's Spirit uses His words to teach us, to talk to us, as we are now. This isn't just an academic exercise, it is meant for us. But then the second reason is you have to take whatever passage you're trying to interpret and apply to yourself and test it with the rest of what the Scripture says. Now, if the rest of the Scripture is saying that's the wrong interpretation, then you say, well, then I can't go there. But if the rest of Scripture says, no, that is actually true, then you say, that probably is what God wants me to hear from this. And here's what I want. The whole Bible is a love letter to us. I mean, that's what some people summarize the whole thing as. God is love. There are so many passages where we see that God has an individual love. In fact, almost a surprising, unexpected love. You look at how He interacts with His disciples, or even like with Peter when he's trying to be washed. He's like, well, wash all of me. And Jesus is like, Peter, you don't get it. It's like there's this tender love of Jesus for the individual, not just, I'm here to save the world. He spent so much time with individuals, in particular individuals that other people have said aren't valuable. I'd throw them away, right? The blind, the lame, the poor, the women. And He said, no, I will spend time with you because you matter. In fact, I treasure you. That's who Jesus is. That's how He reveals Himself throughout the text. More so, when you look at the covenants in the Bible, God makes these consistent. The story of the Old Testament and then into the New Testament is a story of God's covenants where He chooses in greater, focusing fashion, people that will be His. Right? So this is the first covenant we said in the Bible with Noah. Some people argue that there was a covenant with Adam, but He doesn't use the word. With Noah, there's a covenant. It's all the earth. Signs a rainbow. A little while later, He's going to make a covenant with Abraham and all of his descendants. So a lot of people come from that. A little while later, it's Moses and the nation of Israel. A little while later, it's David and the kingdom. And then finally, it's in the person of Jesus and His followers. And so it kind of gets more and more focused as it goes. And as each covenant is made, the previous covenants all apply. Where He doesn't set aside, okay, well, when I talked to Noah, I said I would never destroy the earth. Now with you, Abraham, we've got some new rules. No. That one still applies. You are still chosen. You are still my treasured possession. You will no longer, you will never destroy the earth. Also, you will be a blessing through this nation, right? And then it goes further, Israel, you will be my people. You will be how people understand who I am into the world. And it keeps getting more and more focused until in Jesus, all the covenants are fulfilled. And God is fully revealed. We are fully known by God. We're fully loved by Him. We're fully saved by Him. And the world is starting to blossom into this new kingdom. He's recreating the earth, just like in Noah's Ark, through Jesus. But all the covenants still apply. So when Jesus gives His personal invitation, and He says, follow me, we have all of the covenants that go back through Jesus. And so the rainbow in the sky that says, you are my treasured possession, is ours in Jesus. Through Jesus, you can look at the rainbow and you can say, God does treasure me. And more than that, it means that every storm in your life, you can look for the good things at the end of the storm. Maybe it's not in the middle, but in hindsight, when you're driving, you go through a storm and you have to look backwards to see the rainbow, right? You have to look back at the storm, but now you see a rainbow where God says there is some goodness when you look back with some perspective, and that goodness means I have you. I'm covenanted with you. You are my treasure. I will continue with you. You can look for those things. You don't have to say, I'm just making this up. I'm just feeling better about it. It's what God has said. He will get you through whatever you're going through, whatever you will get through. Take time to look back for the rainbow. You don't have to be strong and just, all right, on to the next storm, God. He's giving you signs. All covenants have signs in order that we might remember and that He will remember His covenant. Not that He ever forgot. The word remember there means that it's an intentional bringing back up to attention. Kind of like the same way that we do communion every single Sunday. Not that we forgot that Jesus died on the cross, but it's an intentional, yes, I am still in. Yes, I am still present here with God in his presence. Jesus, we thank you for your love. Thank you for your personal love. We thank you for your messages to us. We thank you for your covenant, your faithfulness in that love to us. Lord, I pray that you would show us signs of that love. Let us know how much you care about us. Let us feel like we're your treasured possession. We want to be God. We desire to be loved by you. Hug us, keep us, and guide us. Allow this love, Lord, to transform how we love others. Let it change us on the inside in order that we might be able to see everyone around us the same way that you see them. Allow us to be your hands and feet, that we might participate as signs of what you think of everyone else, God. We love you. In your name we pray. Amen. All right. We'll do discussion groups. And then, because it's awkward if I come up and dismiss you while you guys are talking, I'll dismiss you here, but invite you to stay as long as you'd like. And then, let's say at like 11:45, we'll meet in the cafe. If you want to get a briefer on what the curriculum looks like and what the planning center looks like, I'll hook up my computer and I'll kind of show you guys. Here's the questions that we got for this morning. How can we demonstrate that life is sacred? So take it and run with it where we didn't have time to. Where do we apply this in our life? What does this look like? All right, 2, what signs has God given you to say he treasures you? So share a little bit of those positive stories maybe from your own life. And then the last question, very open-ended, does God give signs to non-Christians that he loves them? Well, I guess that's a yes-no question, not really open-ended. But what I mean is there's not a right answer on that one, but feel free to explore that question. Does God give these signs to people that aren't following him so that they know that he loves them? All right, take time in your groups and then chat, and then you guys can leave whenever you'd like. But when you go, know that you are loved by God. Go this week in God's peace.